Hello, and thank you for joining us today as we speak about the upcoming election and specifically Proposition 33. As you can see, my guest in the back probably has a little bit of a slant towards the no vote, and I'm going to go with I do as well. And we are going to talk about that right now. With me, I welcome Jeff Fowler, president of the Apartment Owners Association of California. So, Jeff, thank you for joining me. Thank you for joining my audience here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's an important topic to cover, and so glad that you're doing everything you can to get the word out.
Definitely am. Can you, seeing that Prop 33 right behind you, the big lie, vote no, can you start out sharing your thoughts on it, and maybe the thoughts of the Apartment Owner Association as well?
Sure. So Prop 33, for some people, if you're not aware what it's all about, this is not something that creates a new law, really. What it does is it repeals a law called Costa-Hawkins. And that law it exempts single-family homeowners, condos, townhomes, and ADUs. All those things are exempted, as well as certain buildings built before, other ones too. So it's doing a lot to cover and protect homeowners, but this would repeal that, and it would expose single family homeowners and town homeowners and all those with ADUs to rent control. So that's really what it's all about. And so if you can imagine, there are certain people that are renting out their condo. Maybe their starter home was a condo, and then they moved on, they graduated to something nicer, but they decided to keep it, right? They kept it and said, hey, I'll rent this out. And those type of people, once they're subjected to a harsher form of rent control and more regulation, what they'll do is sell. And when they sell, all of a sudden that big pie starts to shrink. And so the number of rental housing units will go down. And as that goes down, obviously we're talking about supply. So demand didn't change, but supply goes down. And then as the supply goes down, your people will be displaced. When they sell, they will Ellis Act that thing. They'll take it off the market. People will be evicted, and then they'll have to go and find others. So your people will be displaced, which could lead to more homelessness, right? That's a potential, because they will have to find another place. If they don't have the means, then they're in trouble, right? And so, and then in addition to that, let me see, what can I say here? Feel like I'm missing something. Right, yeah. And so then the other part of it is, if you allow harsher rent control, then people's margin disappears. And so what you would normally do to upkeep a unit, so there's this thing called vacancy control or vacancy decontrol. So when apartment goes vacant, you're able to renovate that, and then you charge market rate. And what would happen is local jurisdictions like LA County, maybe not Ventura for a while, but maybe Ventura too. You already have a little bit of tenant protection ordinance there in Ventura County, if I'm not mistaken. But in LA County for sure, they'll start to control the price that people enter at. And once you do that, then the renovations stop happening, because it doesn't pencil out. When you're not renovating, you're not making, some of those things could be safety. A lot of those things are just making it nicer. So that we're talking quality of life goes down, on people, whether they're moving in or out, or whether they're moving out or not, quality of life goes down. And then if you think about it, it's the whole building. So let's say, you have a gate in the back and the lock breaks. Well, how many times are you going to fix that? And if you don't have the margin to fix it, you're going to let it go. And then all of a sudden, you're getting more crime than you ever had before because you didn't maintain your building properly. And so crime seriously becomes an issue. Like if you don't already have the lights, if you don't already have the cameras, if you're not already taking care of things properly, and the condition, the appearance of the building goes down, you're inviting crime. And so those are all things that whether even if you're not an apartment owner, we're AOA, right? The Apartment Owners Association. Even if you're not an owner, these are things that matter, and it matters. You see how much it impacts renters, um, just as much as someone who's trying to make it with an apartment building.
So a couple of things you say are hot buttons for me as well.
Okay.
One of which is the ability to charge a market rent when somebody moves out. And to me, that almost boils down to the bottom level between capitalism and socialism. And I don't know if that's being accurate or not. Does this even go down, do you feel, to a societal level where are we going to completely have the government control prices for everything, or are we going to pick and choose housing but not something else?
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I think people are especially since COVID, people have more and more looked to the government for help as opposed to being individually responsible for their well-being. So I think that there's been a shift in people's minds towards, oh, this is the government's job versus this is my job. And so like that's a shift in mindset, and people don't understand what the trade-off is with that. And you get incredible inefficiencies when you do that. And just an example, like we're really surprised Newsweek ran this article about Argentina, and there recently they just removed rent control. Instead of trending that way, they've so far went that way that basically people took their units off the market, just like I was talking about. It's case in point, in a lot of places, even like in Oakland, people have taken their units off the market and they're sitting empty. And there, that was the case until they removed rent control. And there, the supply has gone up almost instantaneously, 195%. And with that supply going up, obviously the price has gone down, and it's encouraged the development of new rentals. And so it's an incredible turn. And yeah, it's not that it's perfect, is every single person taken care of in that situation? No, they're not. Not every single person, but the greater good is done for sure through that type of action that they've taken there.
And you addressed a class that I took in high school, Economics 101, kind of supply and demand, I believe, was the first thing that I ever learned in economics.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a blog about this, and without answering the question, I think, if you take a economist who's going to, and economists are typically looking at data, they're trying to forecast, but they're typically going in neutral also. And I just posed the question to the reader, with rent control, is somebody more likely to put their home on the market to rent, or are they more likely to take their home off the market to rent? Is rent control likely to increase supply or decrease supply? And like you said, if it's going to decrease supply, it's certainly not going to induce, someone's not going to say, oh, great, rent control, I'm going to put my unit on the market now. That's, if somebody's hoping for that answer, that doesn't seem like a logical conclusion. And if, like you said, units come off the market, what happens to rent? Rent's not going to go down because of that.
Right, right. And so, yeah, like I think, there's a happy medium. You could say if it was a reasonable amount, not that, what's reasonable, people will continue to build, because the demand is there. But and it pencils, but when it stops penciling, that's when you have people giving up. And really, like LA County or different places where rents have been ratcheted, and rent control has been ratcheted up, or tenant protections and these different things, and they're just hit from 80 different ways. They're like, man, I'm getting out. And there has been an exit for sure to other, and they're taking their money to other states and investing in rental properties in other states because they feel like it's more secure, it's more stable than what they have. Like, what's the next thing that City Hall is going to pass, right? And so there's that, you're an investor is exposed to risk, and they'll go somewhere else for it. And yeah, so that's kind of like property rights. It's such like a basic part of America, and kind of what allowed us to become as prosperous as we are, because whether it's ideas like your inventions, or whether it's your property, your physical property, those things have been protected, and that really fosters innovation. It fosters investment, and it's incredible, and it's incredibly fair. When the government is running things, how fair is it? Like, how many people get Section 8, and who gets that, or other benefits? Like, how is all that being decided? And is it 100% fair, or is there corruption in there? And the society it becomes more and more corrupt, then it becomes more and more unfair, where when it's an open market, like some people don't, I don't even know if I like the word capitalism, but an open market, a fair market, because that's what it is. But if it's a closed market, and it's only the government, or it's only nonprofits that can provide housing, it's not fair. And then the corruption, it reeks of corruption. And that's where you get to where they're building, a single unit for $800,000-$700,000. And it's just like, what what is this? You could build a whole house for that. And anyway, so, and people it's just not fair when everyone doesn't have the opportunity. So that's the pros and the cons. You're weighing, okay, let me provide something for everybody, but then that means you're foregoing opportunity for all. And then who is going to get this? That's going to be come down to whoever's actually doing the work. And it doesn't always work out well. So
And it's interesting, you and I were speaking before we started the recording about the statewide rent control. AB, was it 1439?
yeah, 1482. Just call it
82.
state.
That was
Yeah,
close.
yeah.
Okay. So
California.
that went into effect by legislation, not by proposition,
Right. Yeah.
in 2020. And what we were speaking about is that almost forces property owners to raise rent every year, because if they don't, then they'll fall behind on what they would be allowed to increase rent by in future years if they don't raise it every year. So it's almost counterintuitive that rent control legislation is almost causing rents to go up consistently.
Right. It has. It definitely has. And we speak to a lot of people that, really would give their renters a pass, and they wouldn't do the rent increases, and they've said, I have to do it now. And they're also seeing, and part of it is also being triggered by more tenant protections. And so the tenant and so it's such a misnomer. The lease is the tenant's protection. There's the guarantee. We are guaranteeing that we're going to provide housing, and we're going to do that well. It's going to be up to California Building Code, and we're guaranteeing quiet enjoyment. There's so much there that we are responsible to do, and they have legal avenues when we don't keep our end of the deal. They have legal avenues to recover any loss. And so to say you need tenant protections is kind of like it doesn't exist. And you know, not that there shouldn't be, you know, not that you shouldn't take care of everyone, and you should, you know, it should be the golden rule. And if you run your property that way, you're going to end up getting better renters, and you're going to end up being more successful than the guy who's a scumbag. And are there bad landlords? Sure, there are. There's definitely there's bad apples everywhere. You know, it's not like renters are 100% saints, and you know, and it's the same thing for owners too. They're no one, there's not 100% that are all good. So there's going to be things, but that's why we have a judicial system, you know.
So from you're the president of the Apartment Owners Association of California. It's probably not wrong to assume you're in touch with other members and presidents throughout the country. Have you spoken to anybody that is in a rent control state that says, wow, it is just working beautifully here. The renters are happy, the property owners are happy, it's working out beautifully?
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't find a good success case for rent control. It's just not there.
And one of the flaws that you had mentioned is there's no incentivizing the property owner to have an immaculate, beautifully kept property when they're limited as to the profit that they get. And then something has to fall someplace. It either comes out of their bank account. If they don't pay the bank, they don't get to keep owning the property. So they have to keep on paying the bank for their mortgage. And then, you know, where does that money come from? It could come from maintenance of the property if the property owner isn't able to keep up with inflation and maintenance, and then that'll trickle down, like you said, quality of life for the renter. And not that it'll necessarily turn into blight in the community, but we also don't want to have an inferior product for renters either.
Right. Absolutely.
I guess there
So
wasn't a
it's
question there. That was
challenging.
more of a
It's not,
statement.
huh? What's that?
I guess that was more of a statement than a
Yeah,
question.
yeah. No, but it's all true. And yeah, so Prop 33, it's partially about it's about who's in control. You know, are you in control, or do you want the government to be in control? And a no on it is going to help you stay in control, where a yes on Prop 33 is going to expose more people to government control. And I'll go to these city council meetings, excuse me, and I'll ask them, I'll look the mayor, I'll look the city council members in the eye, and I'll say, do you want to control more housing, or do you want to create more housing? And I'll wait for an answer. I mean, I know it's my time to speak. You know, you get a couple minutes to speak, but I'll take a long pause. And I'm hoping I'm getting them to think about it. And you know, but that's kind of the big question. Do you want to control it or create more of it?
That's such an awesome question, because there's no Venn diagram with intersecting circles there. You have to choose one.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a statement on the Pro that says, you know, these billionaire corporate landlords. How many billionaire corporate landlords are members of the Apartment Owners Association of California?
Yeah, you know, we have like zero. You know, there are, I believe it's about 70% of the properties in California, it's probably higher than that, are owned by private investors. So I like to make the distinction. Some people call it mom and pop. And then, you know, so what's the cutoff on mom and pop? Is it at 4 units? Is it 10? Is it 15? I know people that own hundreds of units that are they consider themselves mom and pop, and they are. And so there's a different, those are private investors, and then you have institutional investors, which is tied to the stock market and big time guys. And so yeah, like this is so not even about the big time investors. These laws, like I already said, who does it expose? It exposes homeowners people who own condos and ADUs and the like that are currently exempt from it, those are the ones that are getting exposed. It has nothing to do with the billionaires.
You and I found similar information. I just used Chat GPT and
Yeah.
I typed in something like, how many corporate or billionaire homeowners are property owners that are renting out their properties in California, and that came up with 60 to 70% was the range. So similar to the number that you have. Then I asked, and I just asked from a single family standpoint, not from apartments. I said, how many single family homes are estimated to be rented out every year in California? And it said 1.5 million.
Right.
So working backwards, that's about 1 million that are the mom and pop homeowners, where the proposition is getting this, it seems to me, getting this rallying support. Boo on the billionaire, landlords, property owners, when
Right.
you're affecting, even if it's 1 million, like 1 million families' lives that are doing two things: one, providing for their family; two, providing for the communities that
Right.
they're renting properties in.
Yeah. That's a great point. The fact that this is a small business in a community like totally escapes them. Small businesses is totally the backbone to any community, and they're trying to wipe out small businesses. It's crazy. When a mayor of a certain city says that they're there to support small business, it's like, okay, you know what? Everybody who owns rental property is a small business owner. They just, it seems like we're exempt from, we're not in that equation when they're talking about small businesses, it seems like.
Well, I think what happened during COVID is a blatant example of what you just said, where the renters could give reasons for not paying rent, and property owners could not evict, yet property owners still had to pay the mortgage.
Hmm. And
And
there's a Jeffrey Palmer case now that's active, and we're going to write a brief for it, and it looks like that'll be a great case, exactly to your point. And he's failed a few times, but I'm glad that that he's litigating like that. We sued the county and we won. We sued with another local association, and we won that one, and it pushed them back off it a little bit. And so we're advocating, especially, election cycles where there's something detrimental on the ballot, and then we litigate a lot of times to try to protect people's property rights. And so that's a part of our advocacy as an association. So
I was just thinking about one of the arguments pro also, because I wanted to read that, make sure that I'm not missing something when I'm forming my opinion, even though I do own 2 rental properties, single family homes. One of the arguments was, it said, we need more housing, but let's start here. Like, that, how could that, how does that, I don't even know, that hurts my head. How does that argument go in the same sentence? We need more housing. This proposition has nothing to do with adding more housing,
yeah.
but let's start here anyway. Does that resonate with you at all? Am I
No,
missing
yeah, I mean,
something?
they don't, the arguments are flawed, obviously, and especially I like we had already talked about it a little bit, but rent control contributed to higher rents already here, the state rent control. And so now they want to make it so that we can add more local rent control to drive it up even higher. It's crazy. It's really crazy. And everyone knows that people are already exiting the market with what we currently have. And so to do more is it's kind of like revving the engine when you're already stuck in the mud, you're only going to sink deeper in the problem. You're not doing anything to solve it. So
Exactly. And you made the point off camera before we started. What happened to rents after 2020 when rent control statewide got instituted? And rents have not gone down. Rents have
right.
gone up, and they've gone up quite a bit.
right. And
with
that's
rent
the,
control.
yeah, and that's the main point that they say is the point. And I think other people would argue that the AIDS Foundation may have other motives for this, you know, for continuing to initiate this. But yeah, the rent's too high, the rent's too high, the rent's too high. Yes, the rent's too high. And renovation costs in the last 4 years have gone up 60%. And postage has gone up, increased 31%. And you name it, like everything has gone up incredibly.
So to your point, as a real estate agent, I have people ask me, how do young people, whether that's 20s or 30s, which is a lot younger than me, how do
Mhm.
young people get started buying a home in this area?
Mm, yeah.
Our area, I'm out in Thousand Oaks and Simi Valley, and
Mhm.
I don't know the exact average home price, but for a single family home, it's in the 800s,
Yeah.
which is a big number. Yet we're not doing price control. Like home prices are too high. We should bring them down so more people can buy. But we're doing that for people that are renting. That doesn't make sense to me either. Either, the government, to me, it either has to have a unified front with all housing or
Mhm.
none. They're picking and choosing, which doesn't seem to make sense.
Yeah. I do like Section 8 personally, like the idea of it. Like here's somebody who qualified for it. I mean, and the program stinks in the sense that there's not enough money, there's not enough people that have access to it, but the idea of if you want to go that route where the government is helping people, then help into, put the rent, pay for the rent. You can make the difference there. Like if they want to make it affordability, supposedly is being able to pay rent with a third of what you make.
Right.
And so if you want it to be affordable, as soon as the government tries to make something affordable, they make it really expensive.
And then you get subject to special interests. And I know nothing about government, so I could be saying this completely wrong. I would
Uh,
believe that when there's more government involved, it's more subject to special interest. Just, I mean, that's the nature of how government works. There are favors, which is how government does
yeah.
work. And some of that is going to be driven by who has deeper pockets, and which this is all what Prop 33 is. The AIDS
Mhm.
Healthcare Foundation is either the only donator, or I think out of the last three rent control propositions, they donated almost all the money in 2020. In
Mm.
2018, they donated something like 28 out of 29 million. And it's the same thing this year, where the AIDS Healthcare Foundation is almost the sole supporter for Prop 33 from a monetary standpoint. And they
Yeah.
were even paying people to sign the paperwork to get the proposition on the ballot in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, it's a massive nonprofit. I can't remember what their revenue is. It's over a
One and a
billion.
half billion
Yeah, over a billion.
over.
And they're taking part of that revenue as government funds. And so to take that money instead of helping people with AIDS, to use it for this kind of thing, it's really a slap in the face to a lot of people. And I know a lot of people that are really unhappy with it from that community, from communities that are impacted. And so, yeah, it stinks.
Well, you just have a good slogan, the rent's too damn high.
Yeah,
And apparently the property owners are the ones that are at fault.
right. So, so yeah, let's see, it is too high and so is everything else. And so what are we going to do? Like we got to get, we have to figure it out. And I love innovation, like Elon Musk has these little homes. It's called Boxable. And for 10 grand, they have homes for 10 grand and they're energy efficient. They're, you know, just great in every single way. But then, will you even be able to set one of those up here? And how many permits, how much money do you have to spend to get there?
In the
And,
land.
it's affordable until the government gets involved, and 25% of the expense most of the time is permits, and it takes forever, years and years to get anything done. And, like, gosh, why don't you guys just pre-approve that kind of construction and, they'll throw down all kinds of housing,
All
you
right, so
know?
that speaks from a housing supply standpoint. If we have more housing supply, that would
Mhm.
drive price down, or that would certainly help prices not go
Right.
up as fast. And also, and this has nothing to do with the proposition, but it has everything to do with the problem. If we had better uh, like light rail and ways to bring people to work centers from out of the area where it'd be more feasible to live farther away, then that would ease housing cost also.
Yeah.
Yet this Proposition 33 doesn't address that either.
Right. Yeah. So I just like to look at innovation, and just and put my hope there, because there was a day when we used to light our homes with whale blubber, and we're like, oh my gosh, how are we gonna continue to sustain this? And we innovated and innovated and innovated and innovated, and here we are, with LEDs and solar power and all different kinds of things that make it really accessible.
And to your point, are we likely to have more innovation in a free market or in a government controlled market?
Right. And that's the difference. That's why America has been able, as a leader in innovation, is because there's a protection of the property right, where you don't have that in communist countries. And so those ideas, they might even be there, but they're not, the person can't be fostered and developed and given a platform to make that work. And so that innovation dies with those creators or innovators. And it's kind of a shame. It's not that they're not there, they're there.
So are we going to come up with any reasons to vote yes, Jeff?
Yeah, not really. So if you're a NIMBY, maybe, because then you would be able to prevent. So if you don't want development, which that's a good group of people, then you would vote yes on it, because you would be preventing development. So that is there for even there's some real conservative people that would potentially vote yes on it, just to keep development out of their beautiful area.
Yeah, which we have in our area in Thousand Oaks and Simi Valley. We have a certain ordinance that doesn't allow you to build on hillsides, just so we're not looking at homes all over the place, which is why some people like to move out here because of that
Hmm.
protection. And our home prices are still less than in more dense areas of the Los Angeles area, which we are adjoined to.
Yeah.
Well, and anything else that you would like to add, Jeff?
No, I think that does it. If
Okay.
you do own rental property, gosh, just understand that laws are changing and things are really moving. There's certain notices that you need posted if you own a single family rental. Anytime you run a rental application as of September 28, you need to give a copy of the credit report to whoever you ran the credit on. And so there's all kinds of little things that are coming up, so you can stay informed. Our membership, it's literally it's 97 a year, and you get full access to forms, all the forms that you need, and like a kind of a property management advice hotline where you could ask questions. And we have a magazine, and we on YouTube you can find us at, just type in AOA USA. We have a channel there, and just all kinds of content. Some of this stuff we only have in the member program, but there's a whole lot there that we're just giving away. So we invite any of you that are rental property owners to join. And first year it's 100% money back guarantee. So yeah, that would be the last thing, I guess.
Jeff, did you say membership is $97 a year?
Right. I mean, just the magazine you're getting
Okay.
is, half of that cost already. So it's ridiculous. Yes, it is. It is a laugh. It's so cheap. It is. It is.
It is. And
Probably need to raise it, but hey, that's where we're at.
so the best way for somebody to find you or to get more information is on the website that's on your screen, aoausa.com.
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct. Yeah.
perfect.
Thank
Appreciate
you,
your time.
Jeff.
Oh,
Thank you so much for having me on.
absolutely. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate your time and your expertise in sharing with us today.
Okay. Best of luck to you.
Thank you. You as well.
Okay.